Welcome back, guys, to the Winner Circle. I am Cody Calafieri.
And I'm Derrick Levasseur.
And we are through 2 weeks of Big Brother 23. We just had our second evicted house guest, which was Frenchie. He was evicted 11-1. Derrick, what do you think? What do you think of Frenchie being evicted this week?
Not a surprise. I actually put out a tweet the other day. We knew it was going to be basically a unanimous thing. There was a pity vote thrown in there that we'll get into, right. But Frenchie overplayed. We can talk about it. We're going to have an opportunity to talk to him tomorrow, which you guys will actually see this video the same day that we're going to be talking to him. But we'll get his insight on it. But I think overall, there's a lot of people who watch the show from their couch. They think it looks easier than it really is. They get in there, paranoia, the lights, everything kick in, and you become a completely different person. I think he's a good guy in real life, but I think in the house, Big Brother is just not for him. And like I said, we'll get his insight tomorrow. Yeah. But he's got a rough road ahead of him.
Yeah. So we'll do a quick breakdown of really what happened this week. So we have Kylan win the HOH last Thursday, which was really exciting. I thought it was cool, and I was excited to see how he was going to handle this week. He's really likable in the house, but now he has a chance to really, I keep saying, sink his teeth into the game. Mm-hmm. And I was pretty pleased, honestly, how he treated this HOH. It was pretty smooth. It was pretty smooth. He had the house target, and he treated it like a veteran. I thought, having the conversations that he did, I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, so to start with, great week for him. Whenever you have the two people that you originally nominated stay on the block, that's win number one, because you're not getting your more blood on your hands by having to nominate a third person. His original target remained on the block. That's always huge. And then when you have a vote that's so lopsided like this, 11-1, that means the house is behind you. And so you're kind of doing their work. It happened to me in week 3 with Devin. Yeah. So, it is a very successful week. The one thing I pulled out on Twitter that I didn't love, and I still don't love, even though some people debated me on it, was there was a lot of points on the feeds that I saw where, and he did it with everyone, so he wasn't selecting people, but they would ask his opinions on thing, and he would say, well, I'm HOH, so I don't have to answer your questions. You have to answer mine.
Right.
For me personally, I don't like that. And again, I don't think anybody was turned off by it, luckily for him. Yep. But I know when I played, I really wanted people to feel like it was their HOH, that this was a group decision. And I never wanted them to feel like I thought, even for a second, even though I was HOH, that I was better than them. I shared my bathroom. I shared my food. We had an open door policy because I knew the minute after I nominated my nominees, unless there was a renomination, my power was essentially over, even though I had the room, and I was going to be back downstairs, potentially asking them questions, and I wouldn't want them to say to me, I'm not answering your questions. Right. So that was if I could give one critique to Kylan, that would be it. But overall, I completely agree with you. Great HOH for him.
To piggyback off of what you're saying, there was also another thing I wish he would have handled a little bit better, and that was when he was dealing with Brittany initially right after the nomination. She was coming off of being very upset, being very angry, and that's something you really want to try to dial down initially after that shock of being nominated. Everybody goes through a ton of different emotions, and when she came up in the room, she came up very hostile, if you remember. It was a very hostile conversation, and I think he could have did a better job of just being like, listen, Brittany, I respect the game that you're playing. You're an extremely loyal person, and that is what made me nervous. It has nothing to do with you, and I'm so sorry that I had to do this. This is so difficult for me. And almost try to play the sympathy card up, how hard of a situation he is in as an HOH, and then try to maybe regain trust, like, you're not my target. This is something that is going on, without alarming her, because she obviously is loyal and wants to stay loyal to her team. So I wish he would have handled that a little bit better. Obviously, that's something, as when I went in my second time after playing a game fully, that was something I learned. So I just, you're more aware of it obviously now as a viewer. So I just wish you would have did that a little bit better with her.
Yeah, it's tough. There's definitely things I look back, even on my season, where I could have done things better. But considering it's his first time playing, considering it's early in the game, I would rate Kylan's HOH as an A- for me.
Really good.
I would give him an A-. I think it was really, really good. Couldn't be much better. Maybe a couple conversations here or there, but overall, I think he built some really strong bonds that he didn't have before this week. Didn't really piss anybody off. Nobody's talking about targeting him because of his HOH. So if you can do that, even Brittany, you were saying before we started recording, her target isn't even Kylan. So, I mean, what more can you ask for?
He did a good job. He did a really good job, which now takes us into the wild card competition, which this week we had Frenchie competing, we had Brent competing, and we had Sarah Beth competing. Sarah Beth takes the win. And she honestly, she did really, really well. I was really, really impressed by how well she did under the pressure of the competition, knowing that there was a lot of pressure on the line because as a house, they agreed, okay, we want to try to target Frenchie this week. Frenchie's playing. This could be a way for him to be safe. And Sarah Beth stepped up, ultimately winning the competition, but not taking the power. And just so you guys know, the power this week wasn't keeping yourself safe and your team safe. It was, if you win, the way to keep yourself safe would be to trade places with someone on the HOH's team. So that's a big wrench. What did you think about that?
Smart move by her.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you know, 1 week of safety when she knows Kylan and her have a really close relationship. There's no chance of him putting her on the block. Zero. I mean, we're talking about her dad. You saw it in the segment tonight, talking about her father who just, there's no way Kylan's putting me on the block. It would all depend on who's HOH. She knew she was 100% safe. All she was going to do is ruffle feathers if she made someone not safe. So really smart game move by Sarah Beth.
Yeah, really impressive. I liked how well she did in the competition. Then I liked her analysis of the game. No, like understanding, because it's easy to panic and be like, oh man, I need to make myself safe this week. I don't really care who I piss off, which we saw last week with Frenchie's HOH, and then we saw how this week went. Which brings us then to the veto competition, and the winner of the veto competition again is Derrick X.
Yep,
this guy
he did good.
This guy, he did really good, and I liked how he kind of played it slow and steady and kind of like analyzed the competition, saw it, and then executed. That was pretty good.
He's a smart guy. He's a smart guy. He knows patterns. You know, Derrick X is a good player. I just hope, it doesn't seem like he's a super fan by any means, and I hope he knows that, although for a lot of people they're like, wow, Derrick, that's a great move. I mean, we say it every week, but right now it may not matter as much, but you can hear a couple of the more the players who are more familiar with the game saying, I want to build a little bit of a resume, but they also know you don't want to have too strong of a resume too early, because then it goes from being something you can use at the end to convince the jury to vote for you. And it becomes a threat to anybody who might want to go to the end with you, because now they're thinking, okay, I have a resume. I have like 2 wins and, 2 HOHs, 2 POVs. Well, Derrick X has 4 POVs and 3 HOHs, because I think he's going to win a couple HOHs before this is over.
He was pretty close to this one.
Exactly. So if he has a stacked resume, although it's really good if he can get there, the problem is, can he get there? It's like a Frank. Again, I always refer to my season because obviously that's the season I'm familiar with the most. But it was like Frankie. Like we were like, there's no way. As much as we like Frankie, there's no way you can go to the end with him, because he would have won.
Too many wins. Too many wins. So we have the week is getting played out. Kylan's the HOH. Sarah Beth wins the wild card comp. Frenchie and Brittany are nominated, and then Derrick X wins the veto. So
that's right.
That kind of brings us through the week. And then when Derrick X wins the veto, he chooses not to use the veto, which obviously we all saw that coming. And I don't really see why he wouldn't have used the veto. I know Frenchie was getting in people's ears saying, I'm a big target. I'm a huge target. But the thing I don't love about that is it's still so early in the game. Like, who are the biggest targets?
Right.
Who are the biggest targets?
Frenchie was he was dead in the water. He really was. This isn't we're more of a positive show than a lot of people. And I mean, there's some more negative things we can say, but again, Frenchie seems like a good guy, just not cut out for Big Brother. I think if he played 3 more times, and again, never playing before, but if you were to run this game back 3 more times, he would always be in the bottom 2 or 3 to go home, because his personality is just too strong. He doesn't know how to shut it off. And when he's trying to convince someone of something, it's very transparent to them what he's doing. He'll throw out something like, oh, I mean, I guess I'll go home. I mean, I was just going to use the money for charity, but it's fine. And they're all like, but it's like too forced. It's too contrived. It's too obvious. And he's just not cut out for it. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because there's a lot of people who come on Big Brother and they implode. And, you know, I think the best thing for him was to go home when he did.
Yeah.
I had someone on my Instagram live who's running his account. I think it's his best friend, who was kind of agreeing with us. Like, you know, he played too hard, too fast. Yeah. And it happened. So,
you know, just piggybacking off what you were saying, we're not here ripping on anybody. He is not the only one. We see this happen all the time.
Yep.
People that gain power, it goes to their head, and then the next thing you know, they're gone a week to 2 weeks later. One of the things I thought, I don't know what your perspective was on this. I thought it was hilarious. Tiffany does him a solid. Says, I'm going to throw a vote on the opposite way last week. I'm going to do you a solid. I'm not going to say anything to anybody, so I'm going to know. Tiffany's in the bathroom and walks out of the bathroom to see Frenchie talking to, I think it was Brent and Whitney, essentially saying, I know who the 2 votes were, but I'll take that with me out of this house. And Tiffany walks out to here and kind of stands there and looks at him and is like, well, now I want to know who the 2 votes were. Like,
why would you even say that if you weren't going to say?
Right. Like, why is that? And I think that right there, when I watched that, I was like, this guy can't help himself. And he was going to put his foot in his mouth every single week if he had the opportunity until he went home. Because, we played the game. You know what happened. Why do you feel the need to go and tell other people, oh, I know who it is, other than to, kind of make people feel, hey, I got power. I know information. I'm the guy in the house.
Yeah, Tiffany pulled his punk card.
Yeah, Tiffany was hold on.
It was a great move by her. It was a risky move, because if he would have been, offended by her coming at him like that, he could have been like, well, one of them was you. Yeah. So it was a little bit of a risky move, but she was doing it, one, to be like, hey, shut your mouth.
Yes.
But also she was like, I'm going to get defensive and curious so that while Brent and Whitney are listening to this conversation, they're clearly not going to think it's me, because why would I be so confrontational if it was?
But I'm going to let you know I'm going to be confrontational towards you because I did something for you and you're opening your mouth when you shouldn't be. I loved it. Yeah. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was funny. It was really good. Essentially, the week ends up playing out this week where, Frenchie does a lot of running around. He uses the, I'm going to be a shield for you. I can do this for you. People are going to want to target me, which to no avail. It doesn't work. He ends up going home with 11-1 vote. Derrick F is the only vote for him, which I kind of understand. Derrick F was trying to coach him up this week. He was trying to be the guy that, when Frenchie was ready to quit, he was coaching him up. And so I thought it was cool that he threw the vote, and I don't think he had to hide it this week.
No, the only thing I would say for future house guests, because we are going to have some future house guests who watch this podcast and are writing notes and are really serious about playing this game. Pity votes, as you would call this, they're okay pre-jury. Do not throw anybody a pity vote if it's jury time, and I'll tell you why. Pity vote in the pre-jury, no problem. I don't think anyone's going to be too upset about that. But if most of the house or if all the house is voting one way and you decide to throw a pity vote, they're going to view that as you trying to garner a jury vote. So don't do it. So again, I don't mind Derrick F doing it now, but I can promise you if these guys are smart, they're not going to be the outlier going forward, because someone's going to perceive that as this person's trying to get jury votes.
Yes.
And so they're going to get targeted. So pre-jury, okay. After that, I'm voting where I'm never telling anyone who I'm voting for going forward. Yeah. I'm just not doing it.
I think that is such a great point for any future house guests that are listening, because it's crazy how, and we're going to dive into this. Once the game shifts to, 5 people are evicted, now we're in the jury house, because jury management, as I learned from you, is, dude, I did, man. It is so crucial. It is such a big part of the game, and some people overdo it, and it honestly, it hurts their game. So I'm really excited to get into that aspect of the game when it's that point of the season, but we're not going to get too deep into it right now.
That's when the cream rises to the top.
Correct.
The cream of the crop, you would say, rises to the top.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to win this game, as much as some of our super fans don't like it, jury management is a huge part of who wins this game ultimately. People might not always remember what you say, but they'll remember how you made them feel. And when they're in the jury and they have 10 seconds to decide who they're going to vote for, it's impossible from a human perspective not to consider your emotions when you're deciding which person. Yeah, so it's an important element, and it's something we will focus on, because it is a pivotal point of winning this game and getting to the end.
Yeah, and doing it the right way so that you don't end up hurting your game.
Yep.
But All right, so that was our quick little recap of what went on in the week, and now we are getting to the segment that we love called the hit list segment.
Yes, let's go.
And this is our favorite segment. So we got plenty of time today. We're going to do it right this week. We're going to make sure we start from the bottom. We're starting at the bottom of the barrel, and we're going to work our way to the cream of the crop.
Yes.
And this is a fun segment, but I do want to lead off saying anybody that listens to this segment, we know that people have favorites out there, and we may have your favorites at a part of our hit list that you may not agree with, and that is totally fine. Derrick and I have said this multiple times. We are not constantly watching the feeds. We are staying up to date with the feeds, but we're not dialed into every single conversation. There's plenty of podcasts out there that are doing this. So this is our perspective of who these people are in the game, that if we were playing, we would want to play with to a certain point maybe, but then we would want to clip because we wouldn't want to be playing with them to the end.
Yeah, they're too much of a threat. They're playing, again, like we always say, you want to be at the top of this list if we're not in the house, because these are the people that we think, as of right now, are in the best position to win. So when you see this list, it's not necessarily who's in the best position right now. It's who we think in totality, with the tools, the attributes that they possess, what we're starting to see in these competitions as far as who performs well under pressure, how they're interacting with each other on a social level. We're trying to take all that into consideration when we're making this list. And I feel pretty good about it. I know there's some people, listen, it's Big Brother. Everyone's going to have a problem with our list at some point.
Correct.
But it's one of those things where I feel pretty good about it. And you know what? We had Frenchie at the bottom. I mean, we had Frenchie at the bottom of our list last week, and he went home. So we have a new list this week. We'll see how accurate we really are, because noms have not been made yet. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how off we are.
I don't want to toot our own horns, but I'm gonna do a little tooting right now. We also said Brittany was in a position that, she could be someone that goes on the block just as, because she's kind of floating,
as
not really forming great relationships as a pawn, and that's where she was. So not to toot, but I don't know why I said that, because here we go. We're probably going to get into this week, and you know what? We may be completely wrong, and everybody's going to be like, ha.
Yes.
You know what, Cody and Derrick? Stupid. And I knew you were stupid.
Yeah.
I can't believe you guys won Big Brother.
Yep.
All right, so starting off at the bottom of the hit list this week, we have someone that fell. How many spots was it, D?
11 spots.
11 spots. And we have Brent at the bottom of the hit list. This is a big fall from grace, and he definitely won't be enjoying this. But it's how the game goes. It's how the game goes.
It does, and it can change on a dime. He really hitched his wagon to Frenchie.
Yeah,
and he kind of got caught in the crossfire when Frenchie was out there throwing information out there. He thought that Frenchie was really throwing him under the bus. I also think that tonight, something I saw on the episode where he was like, I need to get the slaughterhouse behind me. We got to go after these people. And he's talking to Christian and Whitney like the slaughterhouse is still a thing.
Yep.
And in reality, from what we learned tonight, the slaughterhouse is no longer a thing. And Christian said it right to us. So what's really concerning for me is not only is he a consensual target by a lot of people, but it appears that he doesn't have a very good read on the current temperature of the house. And so if he's relying on this fictitious alliance to protect him, that's not good, because that means he really doesn't have any votes locked in.
And all the signs were pointing to it, right? Kyland's supposed to be in the slaughterhouse. Kyland nominated Frenchie and targeted Frenchie, not just nominated him, the whole alliance imploded in this week, and Brent didn't really take those extra steps to make sure he was solidifying other relationships, because the slaughterhouse was an alliance that was just drawn together because everyone feared saying no to Frenchie. The other thing I don't love is, he is just openly talking about, the girls, if the girls have this all-girls alliance, which was information that came from Frenchie, he was like, I'm going to target the girls. And that got out to the entire house.
Yeah, Whitney was sitting right there when you were saying it.
Whitney's sitting right there. I don't think Whitney's included in the all-girls alliance, but I know
she's still a girl.
Yeah, but he was also saying it. And now he's talking openly about, Kylan was having a conversation. He was talking openly about targeting Azah and Brittany, because he heard the All Girls Alliance was going to target him, and they were in it. And if you noticed, there were 3 people sitting there that were in the Cookout Alliance. It was Tiffany, it was Hannah, and it was Kylan. You just told 3 Cookout Alliance members that one of your targets are one of their members. That's probably trouble for you in the weeks.
It's trouble, and again, he doesn't know about it.
Exactly.
So it's like you can't defend something that you don't know is coming, and he just doesn't have a good read on the dynamic of the house, who's falling where. I feel like he's going to get nominated this week because, again, it's kind of like a lesser extent of Frenchie where most people, when Xavier starts talking to people, are going to say Brent.
Correct.
And he's going to use that. If Xavier's a good player, he's going to say, listen, man, almost everybody in here saying, they want you on the block. So don't blame me, blame the house.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about Brent.
Yeah, so Brent's in a tough position. I'm eager to see how this week plays out, but there is a wild card competition, and anything can happen from there. So next we have, coming in at 13, we have Whitney, who is...
Yeah, Whitney stays exactly where she was last week.
Oh, she hasn't moved at all?
Nope, she was number 13 last week, so still at 13.
So, again, this is a position where we say this. A lot of the people that are coming up are pretty interchangeable. We could see some, and if these people are the ones that it's interchangeable depending on who the HOH is. Depending on who the HOH is, they could be somebody that gets nominated. Whitney, not really much to say. She's really tight with Brent, so that could be something that's an issue. I know a lot of people are mentioning both of them together, the same way people are mentioning Alyssa and Christian together. So not a great thing. Right. Not a great thing. So we'll see how this week plays out. Who do we got next?
Well, this is going to be our next tier. So Whitney and Brent we have tier 6.
Right.
They're two that we think are interchangeable. I think the combination of them will probably be on the block at some point during this week. Mm-hmm. Tier 5 at number 12, and she's going to be moving down 2 spots for us. So she's going from 10 to 12 is going to be really no surprise here, Brittany.
Yeah.
Brittany had a rough week.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that Brittany showed. I think you nailed it on the head before it even happened. And then once she was nominated, you kind of saw her kind of unravel. When she went up in the HOH room, she was really aggressive towards Kyland. And when you're nominated, you don't want to go. You want to go up there and almost seem like, listen, I understand this is a really difficult part of the game, and put a smile on, put that poker face on, and it's like, I may want to rip your head off and I may want to target you, but I'm not going to make you think I'm a threat to your game right now, so that maybe if there isn't a target, it doesn't shift to me. And I felt like if it wasn't for Frenchie being such a huge target, Kylan could have used her and been like, you're being pretty aggressive. Maybe I should target Brittany.
Yeah, she was crying after the eviction. I understand it. We had it on our season too, but she was definitely throwing out some things with other people in the room. And you just got to remember that every single person in that house, every single person at some point will be a boundary to you getting the goal of winning the money. So you have to treat every conversation as, I'll confide in them a little bit. I'll cry on their shoulder, but I'm not going to start venting out loud who I'm going to go after, what I'm doing next week, because these people may be in alliances with some of the individuals I'm speaking about. And, I feel like she doesn't have a filter much on that. And I did say it before any nominations that Brittany seems like an amazing person, very well accomplished, smart girl, but it seems like her social awareness isn't as much there as some of the others. And it feels like, and again, we're going into week 3, relationships are starting to form. You saw it tonight with Kylan, kind of cuddling with Sarah Beth. People are starting to gravitate towards the individuals that they feel the most comfortable with. And what you'll find, which you find on every season, is there'll be a group of individuals who kind of just get left behind. And they're not in the bigger alliances, and they're not on anybody, they're not an enemy to anyone, but people are just indifferent about them. And when they're indifferent about you, that means you become a pawn.
Yeah, and that's never where you want to be.
No.
Never where you want to be.
Not this early in the game, that's for damn sure.
No. So the next one that is coming in for us in this tier is Alyssa.
Yep, moving up 3 spots.
Moving up 3 spots, but she's still in that position where, this week it's looking good for her because we have Xavier winning the HOH this Thursday.
Yep. And she's safe. She's safe because she's on his team.
Yeah, she's safe. She's on his team, right? So she's on his team. Even if she wasn't, her and Xavier have an incredible relationship. So she's one of those in this tier.
Yeah, this
where
tier 5.
It all depends. It all depends who wins this HOH. Because I know there's a lot of people that are mentioning her name now as a threat and as a person that is kind of holding the guys together because she's really friendly with a lot of the guys. And so there were a couple of the girls in the house that were mentioning her, which is not good for her.
Yeah, she's not that tight with the girls, it appears. She's more tight with the guys, and that could be a problem if girls get into power. But as you just mentioned, she's safe another week. Last week she was at our bottom, she was in our bottom tier with Frenchie. So kudos to her for moving up a couple spots. I think she's done a good job so far of kind of blending in a little bit. Her relationship with our next guy could be a little bit of a problem down the road if it continues. But the biggest thing from Alyssa ultimately, and it goes for everyone, at the end of the day, you're going to have to win some competitions. Yes. And I wasn't impressed with her performance in the veto. She didn't do terrible, but it was all very close. But I got to see something from her from a competition point of view, where if she's in a position where she's on the block or being a threat to go on the block, she can get herself out of that position on her own without relying on other people. Because I don't know, with the exception of Christian, if she has anyone who's really ride or die for her at this point.
Yeah, I think Xavier.
Maybe Xavier.
Maybe not in the same sense as Christian.
I don't know. He seems like he's kind of ride or die for a lot of people.
Dude, and if Xavier's playing the game really, really well. But let's not get to Xavier yet. We're gonna pop into the next one that Derrick already hinted at it a little bit. Oh, that is not it. That is the wrong one. And we got Christian.
Christian, yeah, he's moving up 2 spots as well. And you said it best. We're kind of indifferent about these guys. Mm-hmm. I mean, they have potential always. If you're not out of the game, you're still in it.
Yeah.
And he has potential, but again, he's being considered in like the Kings and Queens alliances and stuff. But if I had to put a totem pole up there, I think he and Alyssa would be at the bottom of it. Which it's okay for the short term. But if you want to win the game, that's not necessarily where you want to be.
You want to be like middle to the top of almost every alliance or relationship that you have. You don't ever want to be towards the bottom. And I think you and I did that incredibly, pretty much in every relationship that we had in the house when we were playing the season together. And so I think for future house guests, that's kind of what you want to be focusing on. If you don't look around and say, I know that at least X, Y, and Z would have my back in this group, and then X, Y, and Z would have my back in this group, you're probably on the bottom of a list and most likely going to be on the block sooner. But when there's 14 people in the house, you can kind of skate by and get comfortable and think, hey, I think I'm good, until somebody wins and more people are eliminated. Now you're on the block. Okay. Are we jumping into our next tier yet?
Yeah, this is going to be tier 4. There's 2 people in tier 4. And I would call this tier our floater tier. And this is not a bad place to be right now. But if I had to say we have a floater tier, it would be this tier right now, where they're kind of in the middle. They could go either way. But that remains to be seen.
Yeah. And so the first person that we have in this tier, which is 9, she drops a couple spots, is 5 spots. Okay, more than she drops a few. Azah, yeah.
And we like Azah. But I feel, again, when I was watching the feeds this week, what I found myself saying as I was writing some notes was, great girl, super smart, probably going to win some competitions if she's there long enough. But I, again, feel like the game might be getting beyond her. Like, at this point, it's still time to reel it back in, but I feel like there's moves being made by the top people on our list, and she's not completely keeping up with it. She's not in tune with it. And her awareness of the game, I also think her lack of knowledge about Big Brother, I, again, don't think she's a super fan, is where historical data about the game, knowing how people have played in the past, and being a super fan allows you to kind of follow previous playbooks or identify moves that are being made that you've seen on previous seasons, is a huge attribute to have. I don't think she has that. I think she's taking people at face value and not really anticipating things. And that could hurt her down the road when they start to, when you get rid of some of these floaters and the people at the bottom of this tier, and there's 10 or 12 people left, maybe even 9 people left, she could be one of the first to go. Do I think she's going to be going in the next couple of weeks? I do not. But I definitely think when the game really starts, she could be one of the first victims.
Yeah, because she's kind of like falling towards that bottom of the group in some of her alliances, or just not really being on the forefront of knowing exactly what moves are being made and why they're being made, which kind of brings me to the next person, which is Derrick F, Big D.
Down 3 spots.
Down 3 spots. And I the biggest thing that made me kind of see that Derrick F is kind of sliding was, again, Kylan had nominations, and Derrick F, you found him in the diary. Derrick F, you had him in the diary room being like, well, why wasn't I told what was happening? Like, I'm supposed to be in an alliance with this person, which is Kylan. And he said the same thing about Frenchie, who was supposed to have a final 2 with him. When 2 people that you're supposed to have good relationships with and you're in an alliance with are making decisions, and you're in the diary room being like, well, why is this happening? And almost it's a surprise to you. It kind of shows where you might be. And so when I saw that with Derrick F, I was like, okay, this is...
Yeah, I had some notes here for him too that I'm looking at. It's like, He has a potential to go very far in this game, but I do think he was a little too loyal to Frenchie, and he's kind of a little guilty by association, and he's got some alliances. You know, he's got the cookout, he's got some other things going on, but I think people know he's trying to be everyone's friend, and I still think that there's other relationships that are a lot stronger than what he has. He doesn't really have, from what I've seen, someone that's like a super ride or die for him. It was Frenchie. There was someone else that he said too. I'm trying to remember who it was. He said, "Oh, we're going to go to the end, you know, you and I." He had made final twos with multiple people because he had it in the diary room where he was like, "Oh," but whoever it was, the reason I don't remember it was because I don't think it was really a solid final two. Yeah. So, you know, he doesn't have that person, which is critical in this game. I had you.
Yeah.
Last time you had Enzo.
Yeah.
You know, there's always someone that you know no matter what's got your back. His person got evicted this week.
Yeah. And I got to be honest with you. I think a lot of people really don't understand the capacity and how important it is to not rush in and form something, but like build something. Because you and I, we had it early, and Enzo and I had it early because we had a good connection from Jersey. Just I kind of knew who he was, plus also having the past seasons. But you and me clicked. Yeah. And there was trust built right away. And not because you and I were just forcing to be like, oh, let's create final twos. You were the only final two that I really had until I kind of made one with Christine about a week before she went home in the double eviction. Yeah. Thanks to you. And
well, that's why I sent her home.
Exactly. Right. Which is
I saw how close you guys are getting.
No.
I saw you guys. There was things. I'm sure somebody's got to find it on the feeds. I don't even think I've ever told you this. There was a night. I was remembering this the other day. There was a night when I was like, okay, so you know where the cave room is? Yeah. And so you'd come out of the cave room, and there was that little like corridor there before the living room. Okay. Like you know what I'm talking about, like where the diary room
was on the left, and
I was literally sitting at the corner, peeking around the corner. I swear to God, looking at you and Christine talking at the kitchen and trying to hear if you guys were talking game or whatever. And I was like, "Yo, is this mofo talking behind my back?" And you didn't. You guys were just like doing whatever. But the camera started panning on me, and I was like, "Yo, never mind." I was like, "I gotta go now." But
don't you hate that when the camera's kind of like above your
totally
spot?
Blow you up. But no, they totally blow you up. But you're right. It's like, you know, we had that trust, and even me, as much as I got the edit, like I was with everybody, there was nobody ever that I said, "Hey, final two with," except you. Victoria thought we had a final two, never said it. Caleb,
Victoria
I never
also
said
thought she was at summer camp. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, I agree with you. Obviously. No, we love Victoria. Congrats on getting engaged. Congrats on getting married soon. But yeah, no, it's something that starts very early, and after the game, we said this when we recorded last week. Once you've kind of been in the game for a week or two, that chance at a solid, you know, ride or die, unbreakable relationship is kind of gone because so much happens in that house in just a day that you've already missed the opportunity that someone else capitalized on and has shared personal information, has talked about family, has confided in them.
Intimate,
That conversation between Kylan and Sarah Beth tonight, you guys don't realize how critical something like that is. Not game related at all. It's a personal thing. So Sarah Beth is starting to trust Kylan, not like an alliance member, but like a friend. She said that it was nice to be in the house and be able to like let my guard down and talk to him. That wouldn't have happened week one. Yeah. But it's starting. And now do you think that Kylan or Sarah Beth are going to nominate each other if they have an opportunity down the road when they're sharing stuff like that?
And maybe in an alliance that one of them is in starts to talk about targeting the other one, like that could cause them to be like, all right, you're in a situation. I want to protect you and I want to make sure you're taken care of. So those are important. And the thing is like, I thought Frenchie and Derrick F kind of jumped into, you know, final two quick. This is really fast.
First night or whatever it was. First or second night. Yeah.
And it was sporadic because I think a lot of people come into the Big Brother house and they think, oh, I need this. Oh, this is what I've seen a lot of the great players do. This is what I've seen people do that succeed. But it can't be forced. Like I will say this with you and me. You came up to me. We had that Northeast connection. We were just like, we just bonded. We clicked right away. But then you did something for me. You told me that an alliance was forming, and you said, listen, dude, I'm going to take care of you. Like I'm telling you, you and me are going to ride to the end of this game. And because of that, I'm going to need you in this alliance. So I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to let you know how it goes. And then like 3 hours later, I was getting called up to be in a conversation about the bomb squad.
Yeah, that had to happen. That had to happen.
And for you and me, that was huge. That was like, let me know my guard is now down with Derrick. This is my guy.
Yeah.
And you never did, and I never did to you, and that's why those relationships, they can't just be like rushed and forced. Those are stuff that like builds.
Gain through trust and experience, and yeah, you're right. And I think that's what's going to happen too. It's a great point that you bring up as far as like you can have these inner alliances like your final twos, but you want to try to make sure that those final twos are in some of the same alliances together, because if you're in a bigger alliance and your ride or die isn't, at some point your bigger alliance is going to say, hey, we got to get this person out, and then you're kind of screwed. But if you can hide yourself, if you can mask yourselves within a bigger alliance like an onion, it allows you to kind of go under the radar, even though they think it's this joint thing. Like we had the bomb squad, then we had the detonators, then there was the hitmen. And so we kind of like slowly used that bigger alliance to take out other people until it was time to go after people within the alliance. And by then it was too late for them because we already dug our claws in.
Yeah, it was awesome to play the game with you. I will say it over and over.
It went pretty
well.
It
was we did okay. We did okay.
Pretty fun.
But that is what it kind of comes from, and that you just reminded me of a point that Frenchie said, and it kind of goes to that point of like forming alliances with people that you really want to work with, not just people that you're trying to gain numbers with, because that ultimately falls through. Frenchie said in his exit interview with Julie, he was like, I was trying to build the slaughterhouse with people that I thought maybe it would be hard for me to beat, so I wanted to keep them closer.
Yeah, not smooth. Not going to last long term.
That ain't it, because then all of a sudden you're in an alliance with people that you aren't really clicking with, that you think can beat you. They're probably forming relationships with people that they really trust, and then your alliance crumbles and you see what happens. So that's the importance of relationships in this game.
Yeah, and that's why they're in tier 4.
Yeah.
But we are moving to we are moving to tier
3.
No, they were in tier 3, that's right. They're tier 3 and now we're at tier 2. And I actually think so it would have been tier 5, Whitney Brent.
Okay.
Then tier 4 is Christian, Alyssa, Brittany. Tier 3 is Derrick F and Azza.
That's right.
And then tier 2 is going to be this next group.
Yeah.
So we got 5 tiers.
And who do we got leading off tier 2?
We were just talking about it. Moving up 4 spots, playing very well so far. Like what she's doing. She's out of the floater category. Yep. It's Sarah Beth.
Yep. Sarah Beth, she, again, and this is stuff, guys, we had our first week. Stuff is going to always change for us. Sarah Beth, obviously, it was only 1 week, so there wasn't a lot to go off of. This week, she has showed just kind of an understanding of the game. She shows that she's got a little bit of ice in her veins. Now, I don't know how that's going to be maybe she's on the block, but she wins a competition, which is a good thing in this house. It is so crucial to gain that confidence, even if it's a competition where you're only competing against 2 other people. Gaining that confidence, going in and winning and getting your feet a little bit wet is really good. And then on top of that, she forms a good relationship. She has a good relationship with Tiffany, good relationship with Claire, great relationship with Kylan. She has her team.
That's why she moved up 4 spots.
She's doing well.
Think about the names you just mentioned. We're not going to tease it, but all 3 of the names you just mentioned have not been mentioned on our list yet. So that tells you she's picking the right people. And that's why she's moving up 4 spots, because, hey, listen, as long as you're in the group of the people going to the top, it's kind of what we just talked about with the bomb squad, right? Like, these people are going to go far in the game. You want to hitch your carriage to these people, and then at the end, beat them. And that's what she's doing. So I'm really liking Sarah Beth's gameplay so far. I think she's going to do really well.
Yeah, I'm really liking Sarah Beth as well. Hopefully she is not a Dexter and really appreciates us, bumping her up on the hit list and doesn't come after us like Dexter would. Next, I don't know where that came from. That was
I don't know. Dexter's coming back.
I love how you just literally you just rolled right in. You were like this. Yep, true.
Yeah, true, man. I got your back, bro.
I appreciate you.
I got your back. Makes no sense what you said, Cody. So on to number 6. It's like, yeah, dude. I mean, hey, Sarah Beth's doing it just like the Lion King, man, for sure. Simba for life.
Wait, what? Where did that? Who we? Oh, anyways, moving on. So we have coming in at number 6, 2-time veto winner, coming in hot, doing a good job, forming relationships. No longer as a person that's being talked about, really as a target. Derrick X.
Yep, Derrick X, another person that. I think you said it right there, coming in hot, because he's doing well, but he's got to keep it. Yeah. The reason he's not even higher is because he's already won 2 competitions early, and he's been in the running to win others as well. Yeah. So, again, some of the more prominent, the better players are going to start to make note of this as far as who's building their resume and who's building it the fastest, because if he gets so far ahead competition wise, people might say there's no way I'm going to be able to match him in the final two. He's got to go. Right. So I think he's good. The only thing I would say working against him is he's good at the game naturally. He's just naturally good at the game, but he doesn't seem like someone who has a real big grasp or an extensive history of the game, no understanding how it's played. And so that could hurt him when it starts again to be the top echelon of people that he's got to beat. Yeah. He's got to beat out. Because does he have a ride or die? I don't think he does, because he tries to pretend like Kylan is, but I don't know if Kylan considers him the ride or die.
I think he's building it. I think he's building it. I don't think he necessarily has it, because I also think that everybody realizes that now maybe I could be wrong. He did throw Travis under the bus right away. Pretty much got the target moved off of him to Travis.
Yes.
Now I know he's forming relationships. Like I saw him getting kind of close with Alyssa. He was talking to Azza, so he's forming good relationships. Now we could have missed this on the feeds, but I haven't seen it on any of the Twitter feeds that I just try to read up on when they're hammering some of the stuff that's going on right to the feed, so I could read through it.
Again, think he's going to go far. He's someone else I would say going to go far, not going home anytime soon. But again, when the game really starts and the alliances are revealed, is he going to be left out in the cold? Yeah. That's going to be the question.
Yeah, and then the other thing is the two competitions, when he won the two vetoes, he turned to Kylan and was like, do you think that's going to put a target on my back? And it's like, yeah. Kylan was like, no, of course not. Yeah. You won two vetoes in the first 2 weeks. Yeah. People are going to want to try to bet. Yeah, and they're not going to – here's the thing. When you're doing it like that and you're winning these comps, they're not going to try to do it up front. They're going to probably backdoor you and not even give you a chance to play.
Facts.
Not a good position. But
we still moved him up 3.
Moved him up because I do like how he's kind of getting back into the game.
Oh yeah, he's a good player. There's no way we could keep him in the bottom group of people here, because he knows the game that he's playing right now. He knows the people. He's having good conversations. He's got good relationships with anyone. I just don't think he has the best relationships. And as we continue up this list, some of the people we're going to mention very shortly, they do have ride or dies. They do have people who think they're number one, even though it's not the case with everyone. But that's what separates the good players from the great ones.
Right. And next on the list, we have coming in at number 5, Hannah. This is somebody that jumped. She jumped.
3 spots.
Yeah, I felt like you and I had a conversation about her right off the start. She wasn't someone that I could see staying low or even in the middle for very long. She's someone that has a really good understanding of the game. I think she really gets it. She has a really good, because she's young, so she still has that like flirty aspect, but she is wildly intelligent. She's wildly intelligent. Yep. And so I'm eager to see as her relationships are building, because she's in the cookout. She has relationships with people that were in the slaughterhouse, and the people that are kind of like falling out of the slaughterhouse, she doesn't really have a great relationship with. And I think the people that she wants to target, like I heard her mentioning Alyssa and Christian, she's not even on their radar. So I think that's a good thing. If you have targets that aren't even thinking you, that's why you can blindside people and really excel yourself. Because if you're not on anybody's radar, but you know where you need to go, I think Hannah can do some good stuff. I just think that she's purposely laying low. I think she's purposely doing it.
That's what we need to find out.
Yeah.
Because Tiffany made a comment today I saw on Twitter where she's like, Hannah's extremely intelligent, but she doesn't think she has the best grasp on like what's going on in the game. And it's, if we get the impression that Hannah does and she's just not letting that on to other people, she's doing great. Yeah. And that's why I think she's in tier 2 right now, because we just don't know.
Yeah.
But once that's revealed, where we get a good diary room session with her where she goes, listen, this is my game. We haven't really had a lot of diary rooms from Hannah to know where her head is at. But if we get a diary room session where she says, I know this is going on, I know these two are together, I'm just sitting here buying my time until, it's time to strike, great. But if it's a case where she's just trying to get to the next week and she's smart enough to do that, it again will work for a period of time.
Right.
But then when it gets down to 7 or 8 people, if she doesn't have anyone to turn to because she hasn't established those alliances, those relationships, she could be on the outside looking in.
Yeah, which is, it's still super, super early. So, again, we're just going to say, guys, there's so much time. And there's going to be so much more that goes on. There's going to be stuff that happens this week, because going into last week, Brent, we thought, was in a pretty decent position. And if it wasn't for Frenchie, Brent could have probably been targeted last week. So
that's right.
So that brings us to our next person, the person that actually sent Frenchie out the door, Kylan. a guy that we
spots.
love, moving up 3
spots.
spots. And that really is because we saw how well he was able to treat this HOH.
Yeah.
And so we had to obviously give credit where credit was due and move Kylan up because he's doing what you need to be doing in Big Brother. He's strengthening those relationships. He didn't use his HOH as like other than what you said, which I thought was a phenomenal point when you said that he was not trying to talk to people. He was kind of like saying, recluding and saying, I'm not telling you what I want to do because I'm the HOH and I don't have to. I don't like that. But he was still including everybody in the decision.
Yeah, and he did it with everyone.
Yeah.
He did it with everyone. I'll tell you what, for me, I don't know how you feel about it, but Kylan's on the cusp of being in tier 1. He's that close. I mean, another good week from him, and I would have no problem putting him in the top tier because I like that most of these relationships that I'm seeing, especially on the show, are personal relationships. Mm-hmm. Now, he's talking game. They had a big session tonight where he's talking game with multiple groups, but he's also taking the time to learn about people. He's in bed with Sarah Beth talking about her father. He's in the bathroom with Tiffany hugging, saying, I know if I could hear my mom right now, she would tell me you're the one to ride with. And Tiffany was, as a mother herself was like taken back by that. I got you, Kai. He's building these relationships on things that are bigger than the game.
Yeah.
And that will pay off. And again, some of the names I'm mentioning here, Tiffany, Sarah Beth, these are players. These are the people you do want on your side because they can go out and win a veto or a wild card and save you if you're in trouble. Yeah. So I'm really liking the way he's playing. He's a good-looking guy. He's charismatic. He's smart. He's got a decent social skills. I think they could be a little better. If that's his one negative, that's the area I would say I think he could improve that a little bit. But overall, I think he's got a good read on the game, and he's trying to find the lowest hanging fruit. And he was already establishing who would be the targets for next week in Whitney and Brent before his HOH was even over, which is that's a great thing to do when you're still in power.
Yeah, and think about how much information he was getting by having these conversations. It was almost like an end-of-the-week recap, which at first I was looking at it and I was like, I don't love this because it's like you're going out, right? You're on your way out. And so it's obvious that you want these house guests that are getting to compete to keep you safe. So, like, what do you really have to offer them now at this point? You're on your way out. But I think Kylan's so genuine that nobody even – maybe like batted an eyelash or like raised an eyebrow at it because he's just a genuine person and he is building genuine connections. And the best part is that he's forming good relationships with people who have influence in the house, which brings us to our next set, which is our tier ones.
Yep. These are the top players in the game right now.
And you think about when we get into these tier 1 players right now, Kylan has a really good relationship with every single one of these people.
Yep.
We just have these people here because we just think their grasp on the game is a little bit stronger.
A little stronger, yep.
First off, in our tier 1, coming in at the 3 spot, jumping 3 spots, we have Tiffany.
That's right. Jump 3 spots. Tiffany's a great player. I said it again on social media. I think as far as who has the most knowledge of the game of Big Brother coming into the house, I think Tiffany and Claire
100%.
are number 1 and 2, and I don't know who has more yet. That remains to be seen. My only concern with Tiffany and why you would have Tiffany at 3 over our other 2 is she's talking a lot about her knowledge, and she's not meaning to do it, but she's kind of like educating people on the game and like this is what we got to do. And she's very opinionated. She's voicing those opinions. Not a big deal right now, but again, as we get down to the 7 or 8 people when it's like, hey, there's no more obvious targets to go after. Well, can I beat Tiffany in the end? Because she's been kind of schooling me how to play this whole time. She's going to beat me in the end. I like Tiffany, but I can't beat her. Well, then she's going to be in a position where she's on the block, and it's very early. But, I don't know if she threw tonight, but just from me watching, I wasn't only watching.
I couldn't tell. I was watching her. I couldn't tell.
I don't think she was. Yeah. She looked disappointed.
Yeah,
because not only that, she went out early. No, I don't know if she went out early. Did she go out early?
No, she went out like middle. So the first group, like 4 people got out right off of the first question.
Yep.
Then
Brand, whoever it was,
Then a bunch of people got the next one right, I think. Then maybe she got out. If not getting out there, she got another round right and then got out after that. I'm not 100% correct.
Maybe I'm thinking of a player that we haven't got to yet, but I want to see that she has the ability, if needed, to get herself out of a situation by winning a comp, whether it's a wild card or a veto or an HOH, just something where I see a spark where I'm like, okay, she's got it.
Yeah.
She's got that thing if she needs to pull it out in that situation. Does she need it right now? I'm sure everyone's screaming at their screen right now saying, Derrick, why would she win a competition? She's not in any trouble. You're right. I don't think she's in a bad spot not winning yet. But at some point, fairly soon, I would like to see her win, because not only is it good to know she can do it, but also she's got to put a couple wins on the board, because as the top tier players go to the top, they're going to have these wins under her belt. We need to know that she can do that too if she's going to win this game.
Yeah, and the thing is, you said it, and I'm just going to touch a little bit more on it, the talking. With her having a lot of conversations, the thing that I could see her running into, which is what happens in the Big Brother house, you talk a lot, you just get used to talking a lot. You get used to being the person that is like telling people what they should probably be doing, until you're doing it too much and you're doing it to people where they're like, why is she always trying to push what needs to happen? Why is she always doing this? And it either could be people looking at her saying, wow, she's really been coaching me up. She's really doing a good job. I don't know if I could beat her. Or it could just be simple as, why is Tiffany always trying to tell me what to do? I don't really like that.
Yeah.
I don't really like that she's always trying to tell me that I need to do this, or tell me that these people need to be targeted, or tell me that this is who needs to go home this week. I don't like it. And it's getting a little pushy, and so now I want to send her home. It's only the second week, so I think she's showing just how good of a grasp she has on the game. But you want to be a little bit more like some of the people the two at the top of our list who are not over. A
little more subtle.
Yeah, way more subtle. You were always so subtle in that sense, where it was nobody ever had a conversation. That's what I wanted to bring into the All-Star season. I wanted to bring in like what you were just. You weren't ever telling somebody what to do, but you were almost like, well, don't you think? Like, I don't know. What do you think? And then all of a sudden, it's like people just repeat the thing that you just said, and you're like, I know. That's what I was thinking. It's like, well, yeah. You know what I mean? And you want to be more like that instead of more like, no. This has to happen because this is what has to go down. And you know what I mean? Like that's not. You don't want to be that person. So that's the only thing that you made that point about Tiffany. That's the only thing that I can really see hurting her, and it's not going to be right now. It's not immediate.
No, she's not going home. Yeah. She's not going anywhere. No. And she's protected on all angles. Yeah. If I had to go on a limb, I mean, she's Final Five for sure right she's now. With she's going to be in there. She's just too good not to be. But we're talking about who's going to win the game. Right. And there are two people that I think are in a better position to win the game right now than her.
Yeah. And so the first person that we're going to mention hasn't moved, but still is in a phenomenal spot. This is Xavier, our current head of household. Wins a competition that I thought was, I mean, I was sitting there looking at it, and obviously I'm less dialed in when I'm on the outside, but I was like looking, I was like, man, this is a lot going on. And he was like quick with his answers.
Nah, he's smart. Yeah, he's a smart guy.
Quick with his answers.
He's a smart guy. And you were saying before the show you didn't love that he won this one, right?
Yeah, I was just going to say the only knock is he is, I can't go through the list of this entire house and be like, would he even be either nominated or a replacement? I don't think he would have. And so you think about those situations, and there may be a clear target for the house, which you said he can use that. But I don't know. I think he could have let somebody else do the dirty work this week and just kind of remain staying low and just building his relationships, which he's doing a great job of. He's building great relationships, and now he's in a situation where he has to nominate two people. Nobody knows what the wild card comp twist is going to throw at him. And also there's always the chance that a third person has to get nominated. Now a person that is playing and is in such a good position can really do harm to their own game.
He could become a Brent.
Yeah.
he can be a Brent real quick. I mean, listen, he's playing really well. He's got all the tools to win the game. Everybody loves him. And we're going to see how good Xavier really is this week, because it's kind of like Kylan. Kylan was put up on there for all of us to watch, and the kid exceeded. Yeah. He did his thing, and that's why we're all kind of praising him now, because he took what he had and he made the best of it. And so Xavier has that same opportunity. I would say, to your point, that's fine you won this week, but now you got to go under the radar for a couple weeks, because people already know how smart he is. That's that whole I'm a model. Mentioned. It's already been mentioned. Derrick F. literally said, I believe he's a lawyer, because he just talks like a lawyer. He's very, very intelligent, and he's not fooling anybody as far as like, I'm just a model, part-time model, whatever. Bartender. People are like, that's fine, dude. You may be that, but you're also a genius. So don't spin us on that. So this could be a make or break week for Xavier. If he does well this week, he could be setting himself up for a long run in this game. But again, he's also someone that could be so good that people just don't want to go near the end with him because they feel that because he's so physically gifted and he's also intelligent, they might be looking at him like, I love Xavier, but there's just no way I could beat him and I don't want to lose. So we'll see. But I do think as of right now, being an HOH, it's a chance for him to strengthen those bonds, form long-term deals, get a read on the house by having good conversations, seeing who's really aligned with who. Yeah. And if he plays it right, he could have a pretty easy week this week if he goes after. I was looking before we hopped on. The consensus is a lot of people are saying they want Brent gone. So if he goes through with that, I personally would put up a pawn, someone who has already been put on the block. You were saying you don't think he would do that, but I'm hoping that he does because that would be a good move.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how. So the only real option he has in that scenario would be Brittany and Brent. And I mean, I could see it happening.
Whitney and Brent or Brittany?
No, Brittany. You said you would put up a pawn on somebody that's already nominated. And that the only.
Oh, you're saying so Brittany with Brent.
So Brittany with Brent, and so. I don't think he's got a great relationship with Brittany, to be honest.
That's what I'm saying. I would throw her up.
I mean,
because you want to mask. Whitney's on his totem pole and she's at the bottom. Mm-hmm. You don't want her to know that yet. So and not only that, if you keep her off and you put up Brittany's gonna be upset with you. Great, add her to the list. She's upset with Kylan too. Mm-hmm. But you put her up there, more than likely she's not gonna be able to pull herself off. Now, if Brent does take himself off or Brittany does. You can throw Whitney up. Yeah. Now you can reveal your cards and say, all right, Whitney, now you know where you stand as far as it. Yeah. But if you put Whitney up there and everything goes according to plan, Whitney's staying in the house with only one person who's ever nominated her, and it's you. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, but again, I guess this is the difference between us and who's watching the feeds 24/7 because they would know better. But that would be my move. I would try to nominate someone or get someone to volunteer. That was kind of my move, but that's what I would do.
What do you think? You go on the block. I was going to say at the same time almost. Good. Cody, good. I got somebody to nominate themselves. Oh, again, you did it I don't know. You did it 2 or 3 times.
Well, it was mainly, it was mainly Caleb and Victoria. So, God bless them. I love them. But, But I think he's great. I think Xavier's got a chance to win this game. There's a lot of game left. Yeah. He could be at the bottom next week, but so far, so good. We were right about Xavier.
Yeah, and here's the good thing, too. When you're the HOH, you get a lot of diary room sessions. And you and I are watching those, too, because, a lot of people watch the live shows, and we kind of have a good understanding of what goes on in the diary room. Like, when did you get to this, little clip that they just showed us? And I think that's what I've learned now. I'm starting to pull a lot of that, be like, okay, well, yeah, I see what you're saying in the diary room, but is that really, how much of that is just you coming and you've been thinking all this stuff? Because when you're in there as an HOH, you're in there a lot. Yes. You're in that DR a lot, and you're spewing out a lot of information. And if you're really not calculated, there will be a DR where as a viewer, I'm sitting there and be like, where did that even come from? And you could just tell there are people that are just in there just spewing out a lot of stuff, and it's not really sticking. So I'm excited to see Xavier, how he's breaking down this week as the HOH. Which brings us to our top spot, and I'm going to let you take it away, D.
You guys know who it is. We did it the right way this week. Claire, still at number 1. Rightfully so. I mean, that's the difference. The difference between Claire and Xavier is marginal. The only thing I would say about Claire is she's doing a better job of covering up her tracks as far as how intelligent she is. And here's the difference between Claire and Tiffany, just to put it in perspective. Claire is just as big of a super fan of the game as Tiffany is. I mean, from what I've read online, she has journals of notes she's taken before seasons, but she's not in there telling everybody that.
Yes.
And so that's the one minor difference I would say between Claire and Tiffany, and that's why we have Claire slightly higher. But again, just like Tiffany, Claire was the one I was sure about, where I was watching Claire. Claire went out, I believe, in the first round. And if she was trying to throw it, I know she wasn't trying to throw it on the first question. So, and by her response when she got it wrong, she was upset. So
yeah, she was pissed. I saw her because I was watching her too, because the thing that I liked that she did was played in the veto, knew she was safe.
Yes.
Why do I need to win this veto?
Yes.
There's no reason for me to win this veto. I don't need people to think I can win a competition. And she tossed that, and that's when I literally wrote it down. I was like, Claire effing gets it. She just gets the understanding of you know, because it's not easy. You said it early on. It's not easy to go into a competition where you're like, yeah, I could beat these people maybe, or I'm going to give it my all. But she knew, like, I don't need to win, but I don't want to look like I'm throwing it. So I'm going to, I'm going to compete, but I'm definitely not going to do my best so that, if I tend to do really good and I win, maybe I'm putting a target on my back. I loved that.
Yeah.
I loved seeing her do that because it showed, like, okay, Tiffany, Claire's a player. Claire's a player.
No,
She's here.
Claire's really good. And when it comes to HOHs, I know there was a couple comps that I wanted to throw, but I wouldn't throw it until the people I was concerned about nominating me were out.
Yes.
So you couldn't throw it on the first question. So is this a reflection on how good she's going to be at competitions? I don't think so. I think it's an outlier. She might have just stumbled on this one.
Yeah.
But again, I do want to see, at the end of the day, if you're going to win this game, you do got to be able to win competitions.
Right.
You're not going to, you don't necessarily have to win vetoes. I never won a veto, but you got to be able to win competitions because in this day and age, jury members do appear to look at, to a certain degree, your resume, your competition wins. And if you go up there and you played a great game, but you never won a competition, it's going to be really difficult for you to win. So that's the one thing we got to see Claire do at some point. But just like Tiffany, there's really no need for it right now.
Yeah.
So she's got nobody targeting her as far as I know. She's in the All Girls Alliance. She's got tight relationships with Tiffany. She's pretty good with people like Xavier. So I think she's solid for the time being. And again, somebody else I see, obviously because of our list, I'd be shocked if she went home anytime soon.
Yeah, she's in a good spot. I think her, Tiffany, and Sarah Beth have a final three. I know she just has good relationships. She has her teams. Like Kylan really trusts her. And then Kylan has, she may not be in the alliance, which I think the strong alliance of this season is going to be the Cookout Alliance. And Claire is really in good grace with a lot of the people there. And so she may not be in it, but we've seen on certain seasons, we saw it last year with Enzo. You don't need to be in the alliance to go far. You just need to be close enough with somebody there that you're protected until that group starts targeting each other. Because a whole alliance can't go to the end of the game. And so I think Claire, for that reason, I really like the position she's in. Because she's in groups, like the Slaughterhouse, that fell apart, that is in shambles, that is blown up. She found out about it because Frenchie blew it up to her. So now she's able to analyze, and information like that to someone like Claire is crucial. To be like, okay, this person, we're on an alliance. Okay, I'm going to take that. I'm obviously not going to act on it right now, but you think that that's not running through her head every time she's seeing people having conversations?
Oh, of course. Of course
she's
it is.
That kind of player, and I really like Claire. I think I would hate to see something happen that causes her to go early because I'd love to see her play on.
I think she's going to go far. I think we're going to see a lot of Claire this year. And I mean, to wrap this up, I'm looking at the list right now. We got to grade ourselves too, right? And so overall, kudos to us. Not too bad. We had almost every single person that moved this week was in a 3-point margin. And that's kind of the margin I think that's, if we're having a decent gauge on the game, 3 spots, give or take, pretty good margin to be in. We had Sarah Beth, who moved 4, Azza, who moved 5, and then our big one was Brent, who moved 11. But everybody else was 2 or 3 spots. So I think if we can dial it in like that, where people are only moving 2 or 3, we have a pretty good gauge. So we will compare this to next week. But overall, I think we're doing okay. We got a pretty good read on it. I think this week is going to be big for Xavier and a couple other people, but I'm looking forward to it. We're going to obviously have our interview tomorrow, but technically, as far as this is concerned, later today. And I'm looking forward to talking to Frenchie. So we're going to get off this right after this, and then we got to come up with our questions.
Yeah, we got to come up with our questions for Frenchie, which, again, guys, I know I've seen a lot of people commenting on the Instagram. I know a lot of people want us to hold his feet to the fire. We are not going to be the people that when a house guest comes out, really hard press them and make them feel like nervous in any type of way. Because what we can tell you is that we are interviewing them before they really have access to anything on the outside. So we're not trying to be that group that is making somebody feel nervous and then going into another interview like, oh, wow, why were Derrick and Cody asking that? Because a lot of these house guests from Frenchie's a super fan, a lot of them from their interviews, they've mentioned you and me. So you and me aren't going to be the people that come in and they've seen us because we're past house guests that really like make people feel uncomfortable. But
Well, I'd also say for me personally, part of the reason that I'm so unwilling to like trash someone on a personal level is because part of the reason I wanted to do this with you is because I want to try to counter what's on social media. Honestly, like, I mean, I see how toxic it is on there. Yeah. Not that we're going to change anything. I'm not that naive, but just, just a different perspective than what we're seeing on social media to try to like show the people that are playing this game and future people that are going to play that it's not all bad. You know, it's not all bad. And, listen, we're going to hold them accountable. Yeah. We're going to have some tough questions for them, but we got 10 minutes with these house guests, so we got to keep it pretty to the point. And, but I think it'll be a fun interview. It'll be good to kind of get his mindset before he has a chance to get his phone, because we do know revisionist history is a thing where once they see the edit, now they have justifications for why they did certain things. So it'll be nice to get him before he's had the chance to kind of see what's being said about him. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, I'm eager to see what he says about, I can't wait to see. I could see it happening, being like, hey, Frenchie, like, what were your expectations? Was it different? Was it the same? Him being like, nope, exactly what I thought it was going to be, and blah, 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 and being like, was it? Because, I don't know why. I could just see that happening.
What did he say tonight? He goes, listen, I came into this house, and I wanted to prove that the old guys don't go home first.
You go home.
You went second. I mean, what did you really prove if that's what your goal was? But I don't think that was his goal. We could probably get into it right now, and not to trash him at all, but I think you and I both agree, and, maybe you don't, but I feel like Frenchie is a classic example of there's two different roads you can take when you decide to go on Big Brother, and if you're selected. It's either one where you're going in there to play the game regardless of how it looks on camera, or you're going to placate to the audience the whole time. You're going to try to play to them and try to be America's favorite. You can't do both. No. And when you try to do both, you usually come off as hypocritical because the two don't coincide really. Yeah. If you want to be cutthroat, you can't be loving and caring. So he kept coming up with different reasons for why he was there. He didn't want a woman to go home. Yeah. He kept saying he didn't want a minority to go home. Right. Then he was saying, I wanted to show that the meatheads don't always win. And a lot of the things he was saying, it was kind of contradictory to how he was playing. Right. And so, there was one point, we said it before, where he's like, I just was here for charity, but I guess if you want to send me home. Maybe some of those things are true, but I feel like he was just trying to throw too much at the wall to see what stuck. And I also think he was trying to play to the audience for the hope of an America's twist or something. But as a super fan, he should know that's never going to happen this early in the game. Yeah. You just got to go in there and play for you, let the chips fall where they may at the end, and know that regardless of what happens, you're proud of what you did, and you wouldn't have changed it. And I think that Frenchie's going to have some regrets when he has time to process it.
Yeah, once he processes it, because he came off and obviously he thinks he did something to like change really stuff that, I mean, I went back and started looking, because when he was saying a lot of stuff, I was looking back at some of the first house gets evicted, and I was like, you're kind of off. He wasn't even correct in the statements that he was making. And I'm not going to be here to really, counter it, but anybody can look it up themselves. He was just off. And so I think his vision of the game, he was trying way too hard to please people on the outside, and it really did affect his game on the inside. And you really can't do that. You could come off, and as long as you win that money, like I said it, I don't know how you answered it. The first time going in, I was like, oh, would you rather win the money and come off hated, or lose the money and come off loved? And I think the first time, because I was all like, roses and butterflies, was like, I want to be loved. The second time I was like, you could hate me. Not one person could love me, but if I win that money, I will sleep just fine at night.
You had both examples. You were loved your first time playing, but you went home with 50 grand, and so it's like, I would have rather won. The second time you learned and you went, and the same thing with me. I wasn't hated after our season. I think I was pretty well liked. Very well liked. I was well liked, but I wasn't like a fan favorite. I wasn't like a top, 2 or 3, and I didn't care. No. I didn't care because I won the money. So that would be our advice to you guys: is don't be an asshole in there, but at the same time, play for yourself. Yes. Play for the people that you live with at home, because at the end of the day, those are the only ones that really matter. Yes. And if you do that, more than likely, from experience, you'll have minimal regrets if you stay within yourself and play for the people that truly matter to you, not people that you're never going to meet.
Yeah, not the people on social media who really just most of the time have like 17 accounts and are just typing on all of them anyways. But
Nah,
that is
good way to end it.
Yeah, we are going to wrap it up on that. As always, guys, thank you so much for joining us here on the Winner's Circle. If you guys are listening on a podcast platform, be sure to drop us a 5-star rating because that stuff really helps us. And be sure to tell your friends. If you guys are liking this, share it. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, baby. D?
Absolutely. Comment down below, too. Let us know what you think. We want to hear. We do read the comments. We responded to a couple of them. But give us your feedback because we're constantly fine-tuning the show. And we've definitely already taken some advice from you guys. So keep it coming.
Yep. All right, guys. We will see you back here next week. Also, be sure to tune in because we're going to have the evicted house guest, Frenchie. His interview is going to be dropping shortly after this audio version. We'll see you guys next week.